Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Pat Frese. I'm a dental hygienist, and I started teaching dental hygiene here at UC Blue Ash, which was Raymond Walters College at the time, in 1980, and I retired in 2015.
Why did you pick to come to UC Blue Ash?
It was very serendipitous. A faculty member who was one of my instructors, her husband was being transferred just for a year, and they wanted somebody to fill in for her. And getting somebody to fill in an educational situation is a little bit of a challenge. They knew that I was in a sort of a transitional phase, and so they asked me if I would do this. And I was like, sure, why not? I'm in transition. This sounds like a great opportunity, even if it only goes for the year. And so about 2 quarters, because we were on the quarter system then, about 2 quarters into it, someone else in the department left. So I was able to take her position, and then the position that I was filling in for was open when the other instructor came back. So it was really a happy accident.
So you said your instructor contacted you and let you know the space was open. Did you keep in touch with your instructor past when you graduated?
Yes, it was only about 4 years after, but the dental hygiene community is fairly small and fairly tight. So you know most of the people pretty closely, or you know of them. There are very few people who are in that outer ring that you just have no clue about, especially if they went to your program or something like that. So yeah, one of my former instructors called me. It was nice. It was a big compliment.
Did you enjoy teaching here?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Not all the parts of it, but the majority of the parts of it. It was very, what's the word? It kept me on my toes. I had some really good students, and they would ask exceptional questions. And it was like, I hadn't thought of it that way, or I don't know, and let's find out together. So it was very much a continual learning process and a challenge for me to keep ahead of them. So yeah, I did. I enjoyed it very much.
You mentioned there's a few things you didn't like about it. Anything you could note?
In any position, there's always the politics of it, and I don't care for the politics. I want to do my job, I want to do it well, I want to enjoy it, and I don't want to deal with all the other stuff around it. And so dental hygiene is primarily women, and the instructors were mostly all women at the time. And working with a group of women has its challenges, as I'm sure working with anything has challenges. But you know, that was part of it. Personalities, budget constraints, I mean, just all of those things. So that wasn't my forte, but I got through it. It was fine. It worked.
Have your students changed over time?
Yes. There's been a big change in the demographics of the typical student. Primarily, it was white, middle class, about 18 or 19 years old, and female when I went through the program, and then a few years later when I started teaching. Now the diversity is wonderful. All different ages, all different genders, all different ethnicities, and that brings a wonderful mix to the college and to the dental hygiene program itself. So that's been good.
That's awesome. What have you noticed the relationship between UC's main campus and Blue Ash has been?
I think it's gotten better over time. We were, we were a branch when we first started, and then we became a college. And I think that was sort of along the lines of, we were a wicked stepchild, and now we're a full part of the family. And you know, it's not that bad, but it needed some time to develop the relationship. And I'm glad that we have that umbrella of the university, and I'm glad that we're a college, we have some autonomy. And so I think both of those things give us the best of both worlds.
Have you ever spent any time on UC's main campus?
I did. When I took a 2-year associate degree here, and then took about a 4-year break while I practiced dental hygiene. And then I went back to UC's main campus for a bachelor's and then right into a master's. So I have had the educational experience from both sides. I only taught at this college, but I was a student at both places.
Did you enjoy your time at UC's main campus?
I did. There were more activities, there were a broader range of people, there were different classes. So it was good to be exposed to both of them. This is my home, this is where I prefer to be, this is my family, but I'm glad I got to go to Clifton.
What are some changes you've noticed? You've been here quite a while.
Yes, over the 35 years changes. There have been changes in the students for the better. There have been changes in the physical plant. We've expanded quite a bit. There's been changes in technology. There's been changes in, I don't think philosophy or mission is the right word. I think the mission has stayed pretty stable, but the approach to it has changed as leadership has changed and as the faculty have changed. So that process, that evolution has been very good.
Can you tell me more about that? Like, how has it changed compared to what it used to be versus now?
We used to be, I don't know if autonomous is quite, that might be too strong a word, but we did not have the connection to the Clifton campus. We did not make use of the facilities or the opportunities or whatever, and both as students and as faculty. And now I think as the relationship has gotten better and we're one big happy family, that we do more things with the Clifton campus in the campus parts. I like that the leadership has gotten stronger, both from the faculty leadership perspective as well as the administrative leadership perspective. There's been changes in, I don't know, levels or titles or duties or things like that, and I think it has opened us up to more opportunities.
What kind of opportunities?
We didn't used to be on the bus line.
Okay. Oh wow, yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, yeah, so little things like that. People from the different campuses, people from the different areas, they really couldn't get here unless they had private cars or whatever. So that has been a huge thing, opening up that. There was something else and I forgot it. Well, think about it. Go ahead.
That's okay. Another change you mentioned was technology.
Oh.
Has technology changed since 1980 or even before that?
Yeah. It's just been, I don't know, it's a huge explosion. As you buy something and 3 days later it's practically obsolete. So imagine that over 35, 40 years. It's mostly been wonderful. I think that the changes that have been made in terms of the way that we can deliver education, the way that we can interact with students, the way that they can group together and interact, the ease with which we can get information, we can process information, just has made things a lot better. Technology was supposed to make our lives better, and I agree that in this case it certainly made teaching much deeper, much richer, much more accessible to a lot of people. The bus can get people here if they want to be, or online classes can get people right where they are at 2 a.m. if that's what works for them. So it's really opened up opportunities for students and faculty, because then they can teach if they want online or not. So it's been unspeakably fabulous.
Has technology helped with you teaching in dental hygiene?
Oh, yes. Just the small things that used to take a lot of time now are much easier. It used to be, I felt like I had to recreate every year. There wasn't really an opportunity to build. And now with things like PowerPoint, I can start it and then I can refine it and build on it, and I can change it even as we're presenting it and talking about it. And so those kinds of things have made the education that I'm able to deal with the students much deeper, much richer, much more meaningful.
That's great.
Yeah, I think so.
And then another change you had mentioned was the physical change in the university. Have there been different buildings added on?
Yes.
What do you say about that?
Let's see. The part that we are actually in now was part of the original building, but it was the dental hygiene, the original dental hygiene clinic.
Oh, wow.
And then I think the first iteration was they put the addition on this building over there, up and over. Then the Science and Allied Health building came in, then the vet building came in, the Progress Hall came in, and I forgot about the Florey Center. The Florey Center was probably here originally, but it was designed as a student center because this didn't start so much as a commuter campus, and so people stayed here longer, and that was a place for the students to eat and to gather and that sort of thing. And then as the library became a gathering space and people came and went, there wasn't the need for it.
Okay.
So that's changed, but the building's still here. Yeah, so we've really grown.
Can you tell that the population of the college itself has grown or
Yes.
increased? Okay.
We were just sort of talking about that. We were somewhere in the 600s when 600 students when we first started, and around the time that I was leaving 4 or 5 years ago, we were about 3,000, and now the college is pretty consistently at 5,000.
Wow.
And I think part of it is that we have the physical space to accommodate them. We did not have the space. We had people who wanted to be here, but we keep the classes smaller, and so we just couldn't accommodate. And so it's been nice to accommodate students, people, whatever, who want to be here.
Yeah. Is it competitive to get into UC Blue Ash at this point?
The dental hygiene program always was.
Okay.
Many of the health programs always were. The college has continued, the college as a whole has continued to refine its entrance criteria, and there is still an opportunity for students who may need some remediation from high school or it's been a while. So yeah, I think that the academic expectancy of what we're wanting the students to come in with has changed, and in the good way.
Okay, cool. What got you interested in dentistry?
I was in high school, and it was career day time. I was in the 9th grade, and there was a dental hygienist, and I thought, I'm going to go and hear what she has to say. And the connection was immediate. I really do wish I would have remembered who she was or a little bit more about her, because she's given me a 40-something year career that I don't know that I would have gravitated toward without having that connection with her. My background would have probably always been health, but I didn't know where I would be in health. And so speaking with her, learning about what she did, that was it.
What made you want to go into health?
Part of it was family discussions. I have other siblings, and they are all in health. 2 in medicine, 2 in dentistry. My dad was a business person, career military, and just felt that at the time that would open up opportunities for his children and for our children as well. So we were shown all the different things that we could do, and health was a big part of it.
Why did you pick to come to UC Blue Ash to study?
A couple different reasons. I had actually been in Bedford, Massachusetts, and my family was transferred back here, and I was 17 and I wanted to be with them, so I came back here. And UC Blue Ash was the closest program. And I'm very connected to my family, and so I wanted to be at home. I did not want to live someplace else. I didn't really want to go away to college. And the reputation of the dental hygiene program here was and continues to be excellent. So everything I could want right here, essentially in my backyard.
Do you think that's also why students come here, either to be closer with their family that's close by, or is it to, because the dental program has such like a high reputation?
I think it's both. We do draw from the surrounding area because the closest one is in Dayton. And, you know, on a good day, that's an hour drive.
Yeah.
So, you know, that takes up time and, you know, maybe you don't want to do that. But it does have an excellent reputation, and when students look into it, I think they see that. We've had students come from all over the world to come to the program.
Wow.
We had people from Alaska, we've had people from Russia, we've had people from Canada. So it has a good reputation. Some of those people had some sort of connection to the Cincinnati or to Ohio. Some of them just decided, nope, I want to try it, I want to see what this place is like, and the dental hygiene program is excellent. So
that's great.
it's drawn an interesting group.
So we talked about students, but has the faculty changed over time as well?
I believe so. The health careers, as the educational opportunities for us as faculty increased, then we were able to increase our education and bring that back here. Typically in biology and in English, you know, there were always PhDs, but there wasn't that kind of educational top for dental hygiene, but now there is, and so we're increasing the quality of our own education and bringing that back here. The camaraderie among the faculty, I think, continues to be excellent. It was always excellent, but it continues to be excellent. Again, the diversity, just people coming from different places, different countries, different backgrounds, different approaches. So it's really increased the richness of the campus, the education, and the faculty.
So there's a lot of different programs here at UC Blue Ash. Do you think that overall, as a college, with having so many different programs, that's positive for it?
I believe so, yes. There are multiple opportunities for students to come if they get into a health program like dental hygiene and they decide, I don't want to look in somebody's mouth all day. There are other health programs that they can go into. Or if they think, you know, I want this part of business, no, I really don't. So they can find themselves here. They can also stay in dental hygiene and then go on and get something else here on this campus. So I think that's only been positive. We certainly don't have every program, we're not spread that thin, but we have enough that students can find a good mix and change if something doesn't work out for them.
Right. Do you remember any like big events that have happened either at this campus or the main campus that you can remember changing?
Well, we've had the typical benchmarks, the 20 years, the 25 years, I think we celebrated 50 years. The university is celebrating its 200th somewhere around here. So just the passage of years and still being successful and still drawing quality students and getting better and better, I think I think that's important. We've had changes in leadership, which has been wonderful. You celebrate the new president, you celebrate the new dean of the college. So those kinds of things have been changes and positive changes that have impacted us.
Were you working here or going to school here when the university changed from a municipal school to a state college?
I don't know. I don't know when that happened. I know that UC Blue Ash, when it was Raymond Walters College, was a branch of the university, and we changed to a college of the university. I don't know the mechanism of that or exactly, what that means, but I do remember being here during that time as a faculty member. But I'm not familiar with the municipal to the whatever you said.
University, yeah, of course. When you went, when UC Blue Ash changed from to a branch of the main campus, what were the differences you noticed?
More inclusion. We became more a part of the UC family. There was more collaboration. There was always cooperation, but I think there were more opportunities then to, talk with my English counterpart or my health counterpart. There's not a dental hygiene program down there, but there are other health programs.
Yeah.
So I think that merging us under the umbrella of the university was a positive thing for the faculty, access to more resources, and a positive thing for the students, again, for the same thing, access to more resources, and just the opportunity to enjoy some of the fun things that the university has to offer the students.
Right. How do you feel about the unionization of the faculty with the AAUP? I don't know if you know about that or not, but
I'm not quite as familiar, but I think we were always, maybe not, I don't know. It's been AAUP for so long that I don't remember exactly when we converted over. Like anything, a union has positive effects and maybe not so positive. It gave us strength in numbers, it gave us opportunities to collaborate. Sometimes it gave us the opportunity to make changes in a hard way. There were some strikes, and they did impact this college. But sometimes you need that strong show before you can get the change that you want. Overall, I think it's been very positive, and we had several members of the faculty here who were heavily involved in the AAUP structure, and were able to continue to increase the visibility of this college to all of the other colleges of the university. And that was really important and really beneficial.
Yeah. Were you present for any of the protests? Can you remember any specifically?
I remember I went on strike one time, so yeah.
How was that?
Yeah. It was really a struggle because in dental hygiene, you need that daily practice. You need to get in so much information. I think it was maybe a week or 10 days when we didn't have classes, but it was really a dilemma. How do I serve my students, but how do I serve them immediately now with this class, or do I hold back so that I can get better and impact them bigger down the road? We kind of did a balance in dental hygiene. There wasn't as much technology at that time, so there wasn't an ability to really do too much with that. But afterward, when we came back to class, we just said, here's some opportunities to make up. You need this information. How do you want to get it? So we worked collaboratively to get the information to the students.
Yeah. How did the protest end? Did you get what you wanted out of it? Was it successful, or?
Well, it must have been successful because we're not striking anymore.
Right.
Always with these kinds of things, they're a negotiation, and you gotta find the balance, and we found the balance.
That's good.
Yes.
Where do you see Blue Ash going into the future? Do you think it's continuing on this upward?
Yes.
Upward path?
Yes, I think it's going to continue to get bigger. It's going to continue to grow physically as there is financial resources for that. It's going to get stronger. I think that there'll be more opportunities for students to complete bachelor's degrees here, whereas previously many of them had to go down to the Clifton campus. I don't think we're going to get to the master's degree level, but I don't think that's a problem. The technology, there are a number of faculty here who absolutely embrace technology, and they are the first to use it and first to show the rest of us how to use that. And I think as technology changes and does more and more, it's going to continue to be integrated. So yeah, I think it's totally going uphill. We're going to get bigger, but I am confident that we're not going to get so big that we'll lose the quality and the community that we get from being smaller.
Right. What was your favorite memory from being a teacher here? Or a favorite memory?
I call it my aha experience. And sometimes it happens in the classroom. Sometimes it happens outside the classroom. Sometimes it happens years later. But the student will, and you can just see it on their face. You can just see it. They get what this information is truly for. They get what we were trying to tell them. They get it. And it's not just reciting facts. It's the culmination of, now I understand. I know what I'm doing. And sometimes they come back and they thank me. And it's just like, oh, it makes it all worthwhile. It just makes it all worthwhile. So that's my thing, the aha experience that I could see on the students' faces and really think, oh, I did it, they did it, we did it, yay! So that would be it.
Did you ever do any research?
I did, still do.
Okay. Yeah.
Research in dental hygiene typically is more informational research than lab type research,
Yeah.
but I had interests in the area of the effects of oral piercings on oral health, the effects of methamphetamine use, dealing with a patient who has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, working with students to increase their knowledge of terminology. So those are some of the areas that I expanded out into, did some lecturing on outside the college, did some writing on for other dental hygienists. So yeah.
Do you ever feel like your research got in the way of your teaching at all, or was it a pretty easy balance?
No. That was one of the personal benefits of this college. The mission is teaching, where I think at some of the larger universities and probably down on the main campus, the emphasis is a little more research, publish. I had those requirements too, but my benchmark personally and for the college was the teaching part of it. So that was great. Now, I don't think it got in the way. I think it was a good balance. I think it made me better in my teaching when I was able to look at something, think about teaching myself how I learned, and then incorporating that back in the students. So yeah, that was a good thing.
Good. What was your favorite thing to research? I know you named a few, but which one stuck out to you the most?
Oral piercings.
Oral piercings.
Wow. It's like, yikes. It was an area that was really, really unfamiliar to me. And that was and continues to gain popularity with everybody, students, patients, that sort of thing. So being able to have the information to talk to people who might be considering a piercing, because especially with an oral piercing, they don't really think about it. Teeth, for a lot of people, are not really important. It's like hair and nails, big whoopee. But there are a lot of things that can be impacted by oral piercings and oral jewelry. So that was my favorite.
Like what? Like what?
Like a tongue stud.
Yes.
A simple tongue stud. The tongue is very vascular. There's a lot of bleeding, so you got to watch that. There's a lot of opportunity for infections. Then with a tongue stud, with those ball type, people will play with that. They'll click it on their teeth, they'll click it around, and you can actually see people losing a little arch shape in these two front teeth and these two bottom teeth because they continue to play with it there. So I want people to make informed decisions about those things. I'm not telling you what to do, but I want you to be able to make an informed decision for yourself. And so having that information, I think, made some people go, I didn't think about that. I think I'll go think about that before I do or don't do.
It sounds very helpful.
Yeah, thanks. I think it was. I think it was.
Did you do a lot of like interviewing, or how did you conduct your research?
I talked to a piercer. I was like, probably should go to the source. And he was very helpful. Did research, literature researches, talked to other people, read a lot of different things. But I think the thing that was the most helpful, particularly right there in the beginning, was talking to a professional piercer.
What'd they say?
Well, first of all, I didn't know there was such a thing as a professional piercer. So it was, they have standards too. They are a healthcare provider and they have things that they need to follow. Their education is a little bit different, but they talk about apprenticing with someone who has been doing these things for a while. Setting up offices, all the kinds of things that, I don't know that anybody really thought about. How clean is that place? Do they sterilize stuff? What kind of jewelry should I be putting in there? Metal, plastic, what kind of metal? Can I leave it out? And so he had the background knowledge from his experiences to be very clear and concise about this is the best way. Oh, the techniques. I never thought about, I have my ears pierced. I had 2 piercings. They were done 50-something years ago. They did it with a gun. That's what was done. I don't know what they're doing now, but I asked him about, do you use a gun like that? And no, you do not use a gun for piercing. Oh, okay, so things change. Things are different. And just the different types of jewelry. I never really thought about the style of jewelry and the way it was made and how you fit it together. And, you want something that stays fit together so you don't swallow it. Those kinds of things. Oh, okay.
So coming at that from like a dental hygienist perspective, do you feel like you had a lot more to add on to that?
Let me see if I'm going to answer this correctly. As a dental hygienist, I had about half the story.
Yeah.
And then he helped me to see the other parts of the story that I needed. I wouldn't have been able to understand it as fully, I don't think, if I didn't have the dental background. And that's why I felt it was important to talk to patients about it, because they don't really have that dental background. They're looking at it for fashion or inclusion or rebellion or whatever else reason. And so having both the technical part and the dental hygiene part of it made me a better source of information.
Right. So change of topic. You went to UC Blue Ash before you became a teacher.
Yes.
How was student life at UC Blue Ash back then? What year was that when you came here?
Let's see. I started here in 1974 and I graduated in 76. There were some students took the program in 3 years. Some people took it in 2. I took it in 2. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and without a doubt, the 2 years of my dental hygiene program was the most challenging of my educational career. I know. And for a number of reasons. Number one, I know some English, I know some history, I know some biology. I didn't know anything about teeth, and I had to learn everything in order to be a licensed professional and pass written and clinical boards in order to get a license. So high school, I was starting at the kindergarten level. There are a lot of expectations because of the accreditation process. The program has to provide certain experiences, etc., in order for the program to be accredited. So there was no give. You had to do these things. And I can remember, I didn't work when I was a student, and there probably aren't very many students now who say that. There just wasn't time. I can remember spending 40 hours on this campus with classes and clinics, and then going home and studying, and it was busy. It was a lot.
Did you have any time for, what did you do for fun? Did you have any time for fun?
You gotta make time for fun. You gotta eat, you gotta sleep, you gotta see your friends, you gotta have some fun. But I learned to restructure some things. Fun was not doing nothing or playing around or whatever for days at a time. It was like, okay, go to a movie for 2 hours, read a book for a couple of hours, Saturday morning sleep in a little bit. So you really did kind of tuck it in. You had your schedule, and there was dental hygiene and a big bunch of it, and then you put things in. I had good family support, and I think that when you embark on a journey like dental hygiene or any of the professional programs, or probably any educational program, you need a support system. And so my family was wonderful. I did live at home, so I didn't have to worry about doing my own laundry and fixing my own meals. And that takes time if you have to do that for yourself. So while I contributed to the family life, I didn't have to spend time taking care of myself in that manner, and that was a huge help.
Do you think you could have done it if you didn't have that family support system?
Oh, I'd have done it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as pretty. It wouldn't have been as quality, maybe, and it certainly wouldn't have been easy. And students do it now. Other students had different situations, and you do what you gotta do.
Was the dental hygiene program more difficult when you were in it than it is now, or is it easier, or what?
Well, it certainly isn't easier. So then the choice is the same or more difficult. It's different. Let's just say that. There are things like technology that make some of those parts a little easier. There are things like learning facts and learning skills and doing the practice that really don't get any easier. There just aren't too many better, different other ways to learn some of those things. So I think in terms of difficulty, it's probably about the same. The program has gotten a little bit more flexible so that students can take it in more than 2 years, because there's a lot of single mothers or women who are married who have children, and so they're responsible for other people, and a 40-hour week just really is not possible. So we expanded it out a little bit so that people could just make it a little easier on themselves.
Did you take any other classes for other things other than dental hygiene, or how does the program work, or do you only take dental hygiene courses? I only took dental hygiene courses that were necessary for graduation. Okay.
Now, those courses included a core of dental hygiene classes, plus biology, anatomy and physiology, chemistry, English, psych, social, speech, some other electives. So there's the core of the dental hygiene curriculum, and then there is the liberal arts piece that is part of getting an associate degree. So yeah, we took other things, but honestly, right in the beginning, for sure, it was, oh, what do I need to graduate? It's enough. I'm not gonna, not gonna take anything more till I get it under control.
What was your favorite class? Do you remember? Or did you have one?
Well, dental hygiene, of course. There were some, the clinical piece of it was quite a bit. And I enjoyed that because it was learning a skill with the knowledge behind it. And that was something that I really hadn't really devoted that kind of time and attention and energy to learning a new skill in my adult life. You know, you learn to ride a bike, you're done. You learn to do this, you're done. But this was, okay, it's gonna be your career. So those were good. And I love the sciences, the biology, the chemistry, the anatomy and physiology, microbiology. I can still see the instructors in my mind who taught me this. And they were challenging. They challenged you then. They wanted you to be the best that you could be. And I really appreciated that.
So you enjoyed the challenge?
Yes, yes.
Have you always liked science?
Yes, yeah. I that's where my mind goes. That's where my interest is. That is a strength of mine. My creativity is a little lacking. I don't really see myself as an artist or a musician or anything like that. That part of my brain is needing more development. While I enjoy those things, I can't see it as a career. So science was the thing, yeah.
Do you have a favorite instructor?
There were a couple of them in dental hygiene, and there were a couple of them outside. In the area of biology, it was Diederik DeYoung, and he was an exceptional man. He was one of those rare people that have the science, but he also had that artistic. And he had a music program on one of the, WGUC or WVXU. He had a music program, and so he would talk about music and play music and all the classical and incorporate all that. And it's like, man, you have such a logical, scientific mind, and then you speak just as eloquently about the art of it. He challenged me. He asked me questions even when I was trying to not be picked, but never in an uncomfortable way. I just felt like some of the instructors would really know that you just needed a little more encouragement, and they would give me that. And then in the dental hygiene program itself, Nancy Jackson. She was also an exceptional instructor, delightful woman, just had the ability to put you at ease. She complimented you and didn't backdoor it with but. The compliment stood on its own. And when you needed encouragement to do better, she could do that in a very positive way. And that is an art, if you will, because sometimes it's too direct and it's too harsh and it's too demeaning to the student. And I don't respond to that, and I never wanted to be the one who projected that to a student. So I always tried, and I think I pretty well succeeded, to have the positive when we were having any type of interactions. Even if it wasn't the best thing I'd ever seen, there were good parts, and now let's work on what we can improve.
Did either one of them inspire you to be a professor?
I don't think so. That is not where I saw myself.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a happy accident, because I had gotten my dental hygiene degree. I'd worked for a little while, then I went back to school, and I was right in that finishing up the bachelor's, starting the master's, and they called and said, hey, would you like to do this? And I didn't know exactly where I was going to be, and it just seemed like, here's your gift, open it up. And so I thought, well, it's not a long-term commitment. They're happy to have me because getting someone in the middle of an academic year to go to the middle of another academic year, it continues to be a challenge. So it was like, okay, this might just work out for everybody, and even if it doesn't, I probably am not going to cause too many problems. So I can remember I was outside, it was in the fall, and it was a beautiful fall day, and I was out in my backyard raking leaves. And my dad said, hey, there's a phone call for you. And it's like, really? What? He goes, no, I think it's somebody from school. You need to come in and take this. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did.
And you expected it to just be like a temporary thing?
Absolutely. It was going to be for a year, 3 quarters, because we were on the quarter system at the time. It was going to be from January 1, 80 to January 1 of 81. You just never know. You never know.
If you weren't going to do teaching, what were you planning on doing?
I hadn't yet gotten there. Dental hygiene allows you to practice in a number of different settings, and I practiced in a general practice where we see all different ages and all different levels of health. I practiced in a pediatric office with the little bitty kiddies. I practiced in a perio office where it's primarily adults, but they have very challenging oral health situations. I did some research at P&G where they were developing a new product or whatever, and I would be a part of that study. And I also did something that was kind of off the beaten path. I was an oral surgical assistant, and I loved it. It was wonderful. I know that sounds weird, but from just simple extractions of wisdom teeth, third molars, to some of the life-changing surgeries where somebody's jaw is malpositioned and we move that up and back, or their mid-face, their upper jaw was too far back and we dropped that down and moved it forward. And just to see how that could be done and the changes that it made for them emotionally and physically was like, wow, I want to continue to be a part of that. And I did that for probably about 5 years on and off, and then they just needed me more than I could devote, so I sadly had to say goodbye to that, but I have wonderful memories of that.
Do you wish you did something like that, or pursued like almost oral surgery like as a career?
I don't think so. I did think about it. It's a very challenging educational program, a lot of years, not as many opportunities for women to do that then as there is now. Some of it was physical. I didn't really know that I had the physical height or the physical strength to do some of those things because we were literally breaking jaws to shift these things and making breaks to do that. So it was some fairly even pulling a tooth sometimes. It's like you need to have some strength. And at that time I didn't see that as myself, or see that for myself. I also felt that it would be a challenge to do that as a woman and still have a family. Again, we're talking a good long while back where, the woman having it all was still not quite happening. So I didn't compromise. I found my place in all of that, and I'm absolutely delighted. I wouldn't have changed it.
That's amazing.
It really is. I mean, when I think about some of the career changes that people go through and how many jobs they have and all of that, I've stayed with the same career. I did change physical locations, but it was the same career. And I think that's a credit to this program and to the career itself, that it provided more than 40 years of yay, I love this job.
So you mentioned, at least with the oral surgery, that it wasn't really a job so much for women, that it was harder for them to get into it. Did you ever like run into any issues of sexism, whether in your job here or when you're going to school here or in a job somewhere else while you were in the between years?
I didn't. Sometimes when I think about what is out there now, maybe I should have thought of that, but my opinion is some of that is in the eye of the relationship, and I never felt that anybody went further than they should have. I never felt uncomfortable, and dental hygiene is typically practiced in a smaller office. Usually there's a dentist, a hygienist, an assistant, and a receptionist, and maybe a couple of other people. So those things can get a little uncomfortable if there's that kind of tension. And I was young. I never felt uncomfortable. And I'm glad for it, because I would not want to have that in my background.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you ever, we talked about the administration kind of, and you've only really said good things about them. So there were never any problems with administration or faculty?
Sure.
Sure there were.
Sure there were. Were they noteworthy? Maybe at the time, a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Nothing that made me leave.
Right.
You know, and sometimes you have to look at, okay, it's this or it's this, and how do I feel about that? No, some of it's growing pains. You know, the college was growing, I was growing, and some of it you just, you know, got to find your place in it. So they were surmountable challenges, and I just think they were somewhat necessary. There wasn't anything that I thought, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Or before I got to that point, we resolved it.
Anything specific or just that vague of small issues?
You know, there's always personal issues. There's always budgetary issues. There's always space issues. There's, you know, those kinds of things. But they're in every job. They're in every career. They're in every facet of your life. You know, so nothing worth mentioning.
How has the relationship between like faculty and students changed over the years, or is it the same, or has it gotten better?
In dental hygiene, because we were such a small group, and because there were all of us together all of the time for the 2 years,
right?
You just had to get along. It just was too uncomfortable to have big clashes. Now, it wasn't all ice cream and lollipops. There were faculty to faculty disagreements. There were student to student disagreements. There were certainly faculty and student disagreements. But I think we all had the skills and the personalities to say, fix it or forget it. You know, we are going to be together, so how are we going to get through it? I know that other faculty may have had a little bit more of a problem with students because their students were mixed. You know, there were psych majors in nursing and some dental hygiene people and all of that. And there were varied levels of dedication of the students. Yeah. And our dental hygiene students knew they had to be dedicated to this or they weren't going to make it. Yeah. And it's a significant investment upfront of time and money and energy. And so there was more of a willingness to do what needed to be done. And I think I can definitely remember other faculty members saying, you know, some of my students don't show up. You know, they don't call, they don't whatever. They didn't have attendance policies. We had attendance policies. You needed to be there, or you needed to tell me why you weren't going to be there, and I needed somebody else documenting your excuse, not just you. So it was different, and I'm glad because I liked that I like that dedication to the students. I would not have been as comfortable with teaching in another area.
So the attendance policy is really like you have to show up, or it affects like your grade, or can you get kicked out for like not enough attendance, or
All of that.
all of that?
Yeah, because the accreditation standards say the students have to have a certain amount of patient contact, and they have to have a certain amount of student-to-student contact, because sometimes the students work on each other, and then sometimes they would work on other people. It's a skill. You have to practice it. You can't just, say, oh, well, today the subject is history from the 1800s. I can read it at home. I can watch the video. No, you need to be here. I need to see the skill. I need to see the progression of the skill. So, brain fart. What was I saying? The dedication of the students, the attendance policies, those things impacted the students because we had the accreditation standards. So they were made aware of the policies, and there's emergencies, but you can't have an emergency every day.
Yeah. Did the accreditation requirements for the program itself keep it from being like an online class? Does it keep very much a lecture class, or I don't know what you would call it, but not an online class?
Some of it can be online,
okay,
but some of it needs to be in a lab setting or in a clinic setting. And that's wonderful, because I really don't want you to learn how to clean my teeth at home in your spare time. Can you hear those commercials? At home in your spare time, learn how to BA. No, thank you. So, there are ways to deliver part of the program in a non-traditional way, but then some of it needs to be, it just needs to be face-to-face.
What was your favorite part about teaching, the more hands-on portions, or the more informational portions of your class?
I think I liked it both. I think they were both equally important and equally enjoyable to me, because they are, to me, they're bound together. When you're learning a skill, I don't want you to do the skill without thinking. I want you to have the knowledge behind why are you doing this, so that you understand the importance of choosing the right instrument, choosing the correct angulation, keeping your instruments in good working order. If you don't have that knowledge background, those things might not be as important to you. What happens if the patient can't lay back, or if the patient has to stand up, or if the patient can't open? How do you make those adaptations to every individual patient? Everybody needs the individualized care and instruction. And that knowledge and skill just gives you the armamentarium to do that. All of the ammunition to get right to what that person needs and speak to them, meet them right where they are, and take them where they need to go oral health wise. So I liked them both.
That's awesome. Do you think that UC Blue Ash, or just the overall UC organization, responded to any of your needs, salary or anything, or resources? Did they give you what you needed to teach?
Within reason, certainly. I mean, I never felt like I was having to buy my own pencils, like some of the elementary and lower grade students, you hear about that. And UC Blue Ash, I don't know exactly how the funding worked and all of that, but we got technology pretty reasonably. We got reasonably good technology. We had good IT instructors who were teaching people to do, and also IT support who would help us with the problems. We had good on both of those accounts. And so they would strive to bring in the most technology and make sure that we understood how to use it and could do. So I think within reason, they absolutely did meet my needs in those areas. I cannot recall anything that I really needed that I didn't have access to. And because of some gifts from the private sector to the dental hygiene program itself, there's been huge leaps in the technology, and so that's allowed the students to have even access to better stuff.
Oh, wow.
So that's been nice. Yeah.
Has there been any disappointments with UC or with anything while you've taught here?
There's one group that kind of sticks in my mind. Everybody comes from different situations, and I don't know all of their life stories or what's going on, but it was always disheartening to me when a promising student had to leave the program. Sometimes I knew what was happening, sometimes I didn't know. I respected whatever the student wanted or didn't want to tell me, but I always felt a little, gee, you know, this would have been good for them, and they certainly would have been good for the profession. But I support your decision. I want you to go. I want you to be happy. I'm sorry this isn't working out for you for whatever reason. And I think that's my biggest disappointment, is not, I don't think there was anything else I could do. I don't think it was anything that I did, but I just didn't like the situation that they ended up in.
That like forfeited potential.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I'm sure that they've done wonderfully. You know, I haven't, there were about 3 students like that, and I never saw them again, so I don't know what happened. But I'm in my Pollyanna mind thinking they're happy doing whatever.
Is there anything else you want to talk about through your whole career at UC as a faculty member or as a student?
Just to reiterate again, that I am very pleased with the quality of the education that I received as a student, and I am very pleased with the support that I got as a faculty member, and I enjoyed all of the years. I would absolutely do it over again, and based on most of the comments that I've gotten back from students, I think that I made a positive difference for them, and especially in the area of making them feel good about themselves, telling them in a positive way how they could be better. And that was a crucial thing for me. I did not ever want to break a student down. I always wanted to approach them positively and let's go further. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. I think he was trying to tell us, oh yes. Okay.
I saw him walking around a lot, so I was like, all right, I guess we better wrap it up.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.